Hello and welcome to the ACR webinar Taking Stock of the Stocktake System. This webinar is going to take us through the whole of the Stocktake system, from activating a stocktake to performing the count, entering this information into ACR, and finally updating your stock on hand. We're also going to use this as a bit of a discussion on the functions of how a stocktake is physically performed in ACR and what happens when you press the Update Stock on Hand button within a stocktake. So there will be a question and answer section at the end of this webinar. If you've got any questions, please just put them in the chat window and we'll address them at the end as we get to them, okay? Okay, what we're going to cover today. What we're going to cover is what a stocktake is, how to activate the stocktake within ACR, how to complete the stocktake, and finally what updating stock count using stocktake actually does to the stock file. So what I want to start with is the process of a stocktake and what a stocktake is. Stocktakes are a crucial part of maintaining an accurate stock file. They're generally performed in one of two ways: either as a small rolling stocktake throughout the year, or as a single large stocktake performed once or twice a year. So some places may perform small stocktakes on a regular basis of small areas and go around and just periodically do small sections until they've eventually done the entire store or warehouse. Other sites may choose to do it all in one big hit and do the stocktake all as one big chunk once or twice a year. Regardless of when you perform the stocktake, they achieve the same outcome. They update your stock file with accurate stock figures. That's the outcome of a stocktake regardless of how it actually is conducted. So, to start, let's look at what the stocktake system does and how it actually works when you do update a stocktake, and what happens when you press the Update Stock on Hand within ACR. So, firstly, you activate a stocktake within ACR. That's the first thing that gets done. Once you activate the stocktake, the system does a snapshot of the stock level for each product that's taken. This is done at the time that you activate the stocktake. So it has a look at it, says this is how much stock on hand is in the system at the time that you activate the stocktake. You then do your count and enter your count against each product. So this could be done straight away after the stocktake is activated. This could be done a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month later, however long you take. Obviously, we recommend as short a possible time between activating it and entering the stocktake, and the reason for that will become obvious as we continue explaining this. So once you've entered the count of the stocktake against each product, you then press the Update Stock on Hand button within ACR. When you do that, the count quantity is compared with the original snapshot level. So it says, right, you've entered X amount, my original snapshot was Y amount. The reason it does this is it looks for a variance between what the original snapshot count is and what your count is. ACR doesn't replace your stock on hand level with the level entered at a stocktake. It has a look at the variance between what the stock level was when the snapshot was done at the time of activating a stocktake and what the count level is. And that variance is what gets applied to your stock on hand level, your current stock on hand level. Now, the reason I said before that we recommend that you have a shorter possible time between activating a stocktake and entering the count in is that if you activate the stocktake on a Monday, you don't enter the count till Friday, and you update the stock on hand, it's looking at what your stock level was on Monday, what your count level is, what's the variance, and then applying that variance to the level that you had on the Friday when you pressed the update stock on hand button. So as you can see, that introduces a potential for issue. So just to give you some sort of figure in here, with this, if we did the activate stock on hand and there was 10 for product XYZ, and there was 10 stock on hand, we do the count, and then there's 8 stock on hand when we do the count. The variance there is 2, so the variance to be applied will be 10 minus 2, 8, get us to the correct level. Now, this gets a little bit more complex if somebody buys some products in between when the actual counts get entered. So if we were to look at it and you activated a stock take with 10, you do a count and there's 8 counted. If somebody was picked up 2 and bought 2 since the count was done, you then press the update stock on hand. It'll have a look and say, right, there's 8 counted, there was 10 originally in stock, I need to do a variance of minus 2. However, the ACR system at the moment believes there's 8 in stock. The 10 original, less the 2 that were purchased. So it will do 8 minus 2 to give us a level of 6, which is the correct level because the 8 we originally counted, less the 2 that were sold, would leave us with 6 on the display ready for sale. So ACR can handle having sales made while the stock takes are happening, although we do recommend shortening the amount of time, as short amount of time as possible between activating, counting and updating the stock levels to try and minimize any potential for incorrect values to be introduced there. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move over to ACR and we're going to have a look at stock takes within ACR itself. So, in ACR there's a number of ways that you can actually complete a stock take. So you can complete stock takes using PDE devices, whether they're USB or serial port attached. You can create a spreadsheet that then gets imported into ACR. You can use the wireless RF picking guns to complete stock takes. You can produce manual count sheets that then get keyed into ACR. You might already have a manual count sheet that's got values and you can actually create the stock take with the values already on there. All of the stock takes run on a very similar basis. So the stock taking in ACR can either be found by typing in stock take into the run ID to get to the activate stock take and the stock take maintenance, or it can be found under stock control stock take, where you'll have your activate stock take and stock take maintenance. All stock takes in ACR follow a basic workflow. You activate the stock take, the count of the items get entered in, you can then print a variance list, you then update the stock on hand from the stock take maintenance. While they all sound similar, there are different reasons why you would do different processes depending on what equipment you had available, whether you were doing a rolling stock take or a whole of business stock take, and the amount of staff you have available to do it. So what we're going to do is have a look at activate stock take to start with. This is where we will always start with the stock take. So it's the first step in doing any stock take. Is to activate the stock take. Doesn't matter if you're going to do a small rolling stock take, one giant stock take that covers every product you have, or if you're going to do one large stock take that you split into a number of smaller ones to make it easier to complete. All of these stock takes are activated in the same way through this activate stock take menu item. When you run the activate stock take menu, it's going to show you the Stocktake qualifier screen, which is what we've got on screen here at the moment. This is where you decide which products are going to be on the Stocktake. It's possible to create multiple Stocktakes at the same time. When I say that, you activate them one at a time, but you can have a theoretical unlimited number of Stocktakes set up in the system ready to go. Now, obviously, we recommend cleaning out your Stocktakes on a regular basis if there are any that are unfinished and no longer needed, but I will come back to that in a little bit. So, as I was saying, you can create multiple Stocktakes that can all be worked on at the same time. One thing to be aware of, though, is to be careful not to have the same product on multiple Stocktakes, because then it's possible to end up updating the stock on hand of the same product multiple times, causing that product to be out of count and incorrect. So you just need to be a little bit careful about how you qualify them to make sure that you don't have overlap of the same products on multiple Stocktakes. So, when you're on the qualify list, your choices on how to qualify a Stocktake are Stocktake via PDE, Stocktake via keyboard, or using the qualify screen where you can use your product groups, suppliers, and from and to locations. All these Stocktakes are going to require 2 bits of information that are visible on screen. The stock area that's being counted. You must enter the stock area that you're counting. You can only count one single stock area on each Stocktake. So if you have multiple stock areas and you want to count the same stock in each stock area, you do need to activate a different Stocktake for each stock area. The second bit of information, which is not absolutely required but is highly recommended to have on every Stocktake, is a reference for the Stocktake. Each Stocktake should be given a unique reference that helps to identify what's being counted when you come to look at it later. The reason for recommending a really descriptive reference is because I've seen in the past sites will activate a number of Stocktakes, and for one reason or another they may not complete a Stocktake. An incomplete Stocktake will stay within the ACR system indefinitely until it either gets completed or deleted. If there's an incomplete Stocktake in there and a user comes along and accidentally updates that Stocktake and activates it, as we looked at before, it will look at the stock level snapshot it took when it was activated versus the count levels and do that variance. So if this Stocktake was activated 6 months ago and for some reason not completed until now, there could be a very big difference between what the stock level was 6 months ago and what the stock level is now, causing your stock file to get even more out of balance than what it is at the moment. So once you've got the stock area set, once you've given it a reference which is going to help you identify it, it's time to qualify which products you want added to the Stocktake. So this is where you've got a couple of choices on how you want to do it. The first one we'll look at is the Create Manual Stocktake via PDE. So we're going to give this, we're going to say Stock Area 1 for this. We're going to call it PDE Stocktake. We'll tick the tick box. You'll notice it actually grays out all of the qualifying information here, and we'll click OK. Now, this option is used when you've already created a list of items and counted them, either on a PDE device, whether that's a serial attached PDE or a USB attached PDE, excuse me, or you've created a spreadsheet that has a product list with counts on it. Either way, these can then be loaded into ACR. If you're using a USB Denso or using a spreadsheet that's already been completed, when I say a spreadsheet, that's a file that's been created as a tab delimited text file. There are specifications on the ACR self-help guide notes for exactly how to create the file if you want to have a look at them. Otherwise, if you contact the trainers, they'll be able to assist you with that. So we're going to have a quick look at how to do that. So the USB PDE devices and the tab delimited text file actually get loaded in exactly the same way. You select the file on local PC option, click Start. In here, you click on the button with the 3 dots. You then navigate to where you've actually stored that file. In the case of a USB PDE device, you'd navigate to the actual USB PDE device, which acts as a USB key when connected. You'd open up the file, locate the file you want and click Open. Click OK, and that will load the products. It'll load the products and the product count quantity. Once you do that, you click on OK. What this will do a check for any invalid entries. So if you click on OK, an invalid entry could be a fully serial tracked item, which you can't stock take via a PDE. It could be a set length tracking item, which you can't stock take via a PDE. There are a number of other ones, but they're the 2 most common ones that you'll encounter. What you can do here, you can actually print all invalids. That'll print a list of all the invalid entries on the screen. That way you can then address them separately. You then need to remove all invalids and select OK. And as you'll see here, this creates us a stock take. It's given us a reference number. It's used the reference ID that we gave it and added the products to it. So that's creating a manual stock take via PDE. The next one we're going to look at is creating a manual stock take via keyboard. So this option can be used when you've got, a lot of the time it's used when you've got a short list of products from a various array of areas within the store or warehouse that you want to count. Or if you're just trying to update 3 or 4 items, it may be difficult to use the qualifiers to do it. It may be easier just to enter them directly in. So with the manual keyboard method, you type in the product ID and the count quantity at the same time before accepting the batch. So we'll do this again. We'll select that, tell it we're going to do stock area 1, call it keyboard stock take, and click on OK. And here it'll ask us to enter in the product. So if we enter in the products, it'll ask us to give it a count. So we can give it a count. And you just go through here and enter it in one at a time, just typing on the keyboard. Once you put in a product ID, press enter. It'll work. You can do searches as normal in ACR. And using the add and remove will obviously add and remove lines for you. So once you're done and you've created your list to the length that you require it, you can select accept batch. Again, it will come in, and what you'll notice is that it's now given us ID 79 instead of 78 like the previous one, given us our reference number and our list of items again. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is we're going to look at actually using the qualifiers now. Using the qualifiers is probably one of the most common methods that you'll create a stock take via, because this allows you to use your locations, a supplier, a product group to set up a stock take for a bulk area. So if you've got a large warehouse or shop and you've got everything set out in locations, you can create a stock take. Create a stock take. Or if you're doing rolling stock takes, you might say, right, we want to do shelf. One particular shelf that has locations 5 through 10 on it, so you could set that up in here easily. So when using the qualified stock take method, you create the list of items to be stock take using the qualifiers on screen. Obviously, these can be used either individually or together to create the list of products that you want to end up with in the end. So the product groups, this obviously allow you to either just select a product group, or will allow you to come in here and actually select a number of product groups that you want to have active. So you can set which division you want. You can type in here to actually filter it out, and then you can add, or you can remove. Highlight it, remove. Delete this, filter will bring it all back. All divisions will show you everything again, allow you to select what you want to do. It is possible to add multiple product groups here. So if you're trying to do 2 or 3 product groups and they're in different divisions or they're not next to each other, this will still allow you to add multiple product groups to a stock take. So we'll click OK when we're done. Supplier, you can either type in a supplier directly here. You can click on the button here and do a search through the suppliers. Scroll down, have a look at what you're after. Again, you can add multiple suppliers if you want. Locations, you can enter locations from and to if you'd like to use those. And restrict products. Now, you can choose, unrestricted will look at every product. Single locations will look at products that only have a single location. So if you have products in multiple locations, one might be a picking face location or a shop front location, the other might be a deep storage or a warehouse location. So you might have what's being used immediately, bulk supply for use later. That would be a multiple location product. If you had a product that was only in a single location, and these are the product locations that are found under the stock area button of product maintenance that this is talking about. If you've only got a product with single locations, use single location. Multiple locations, you can use multiple locations. Unrestricted will look at both. This is useful if you're doing a stock take and you want to stock take a certain area but only for products with one location, or if you're trying to do stuff for products with multiple locations so that you know that all of these products have the location you're looking at now as well as another location in a different part of the business. Again here it requires a stock area. And it also requires a reference. So once we've done that, we click on OK, and again it brings it up, shows us our stock take, gives us our reference, the user, the date, the details. Okay. Now, since we're already on here, this screen that keeps popping up is the Stocktake maintenance screen. Double clicking on this will open it up. This is a screen that you use to process a stock take. This screen allows you to locate activated stock takes, enter and check the counts of completed stock takes, and print some variance lists and print your stock take lists. To find a stock take you're looking for, you've got a couple of options. One, you can either key in a reference or an ID, so we can key in 80 and it'll find that straight away. We can key in the reference, it'll bring it up. Or we can click Find. Clicking Find will list all of the stock takes, one after the other. So these are the 3 stock takes that we've activated so far today, listed in here. If I had any more, they would just be listed in there along with them and would show up. So, as I was saying before, when you're activating stock takes, the reference name becomes quite important. Because if you've got a list of 50, 100 or more products, and you have multiple stock takes each with 100 or so products on it, just looking at what product may not tell you which stock take you're looking at, or may not quickly and easily tell you. The reference can be used as a very easy and clear way to identify a stock take so that people know what's required or what stock take is being used and what stock take they're working on. Right. So on the stock take maintenance screen, you've got your ID, your reference. the username of the user who activated the stock take, the date and time it was activated. So that date and time can be quite important when you're trying to determine whether this is an old or a new stock take. Because while today's the 24th of the 3rd, 2015, if this was saying the 24th of the 3rd, 2010, it would be an indicator that this is a very old stock take and we should probably delete it rather than continue working on it. The stock take also shows what stock area it's been activated for. In the body of the stock take, it shows you the list of products, the list of descriptions, if they have a brand next to them. Count quantity is where you can enter in the actual count quantity if you're working on a stock take. Total counted will show you the actual number the number of products counted. Last stock take date will tell you when these products were last stock take. One thing that's important to note in this count quantity column is the amount added into this column will not replace the total counted. It will make an adjustment to it. So if you need to increase the amount here, so say we wanted a total count of 55, I can enter 5 and enter, and that will show us 55. If I want to reduce that, I can do -5 and enter to bring that back down to 5. If I work on this one, do a -10, that'll bring it to 40. And as you're seeing here, entering a number and pressing enter will move me down to the next one. So if you're working through a stock take list that you've produced, you can work top to bottom in the count order, enter a thing and type in a value, enter, type in a value, enter. It does allow you to sequence the products down here according to how you want them shown. So we've got that. Now we've got the buttons at the bottom, so you've got your print stock take list, your key in stock take quantity and PDE download, your print variance list, your update stock on hand quantity, reset stock take, remove line, delete stock take. I'm going to come to these in order as I go through them. So the first one is the print stock take list. So you're able to print a stock take list to be used by staff doing a manual count. So this is if you have created a stock take and you're going to hand out paper count sheets for staff to do. In here you've got a few options on how you can create it. You can elect to don't show blank locations, show only blank locations, or include blank and non-blank locations. So these are products that if you've qualified via a product group, if a product doesn't have a stock location in the system, you can choose whether you want it to show on this stock take list or not. You can choose how you want it sequenced, and you can choose whether you want to print any products that have 0 stock on hand or print products with a 0 stock on hand as well, or not to. The reason for that is you may not want a stock take to show any products that the ACR system thinks has 0 stock on hand. Obviously the danger with that is if you do have stock of it, there's nowhere for the person doesn't know that it's on their stock take to count. So when we generate this report, we can print it to screen, and what we'll see here is the location, the product IDs. If they've got a sort key, there'll be the sort key, the description, a brand, the unit that the counts are in, so inners or outers, shipper, layer, pallet, the current stock on hand of the unit, and a space for them to type a count in. You can choose if this stock on hand will show or not, and we'll get to that at the end when we're looking at the configurations available. But this is what a stock take count list will look like. The key stock take quantity allows for the entry of product IDs, then the counted quantity if you want to use it that way. The PDE download screen just loads up the same PDE screen we looked at before and works exactly the same way. the Reset Stocktake button, if we click this, it's going to clear all of these count quantities. So if you're entering it and for some reason you discover there's been a mistake and you need to clear it all out, you can use that Reset Stocktake to reset the count quantities. Remove line will literally just remove the line that's shown there. Delete Stocktake will delete the entire Stocktake. So if we have a look at this Stocktake 78, if we click Delete Stocktake, are you sure you wish to delete it? Yes. You'll now see that we've only got 79 and 80 left. So one of those Stocktakes has been taken out. Okay. I'll get back to the print variance list and the update stock on hand button as we get to them, because at the moment we're still sort of working through doing the Stocktake, and they're sort of part of the next step. Okay, so when you've activated the Stocktake, you may have either created it with the Stocktake with count quantities in there already. So if you're doing your manual Stocktake, you may have created it ready for the count to be entered. So you may have done a manual Stocktake where you haven't entered values. You might have used the qualified Stocktake to create it. You may also have created the Stocktake where the counts are already in there. So the manual Stocktake allows you to enter a count. Generally, if you've done a Stocktake via PDE, there'll be a count quantity in there as well. For Stocktakes that need their counts entered, there's actually a couple of options on how you can do it. If your site uses the Motorola wireless RF picking guns, these can actually be used to complete a Stocktake. The way you do this is you start the gun up. In the options menu, there's a Stocktake option. You select that option. It will then ask you for the ID number. Enter the Stocktake ID from Stocktake Maintenance, and it will then get you up to the point where you can start scanning products, entering in a count. Doing it in that way, if you do use that option, as the person completing the Stocktake scans a product and enters a count, that gets automatically updated into this total counted field. So they don't have to wait till the end to do a batch update. They don't have to dock it or anything like that. As they count each product, it will get updated in the ACR system. If they get halfway through and stop, half of the products will have counts in them, the other half won't. Now you can obviously have multiple guns doing multiple Stocktakes if you have them. So if you had 3 guns, you could activate 3 separate Stocktakes and have people out counting with the Stocktake guns simultaneously. Obviously, you can also have paper count sheets going, which is the Stocktake list that we looked at here. And you can have multiple, like with that, you could have multiple people working on the same Stocktake. If you do a large Stocktake, you might hand different sections of the Stocktake list out to different people and have them do it. Or you may activate a number of smaller Stocktakes and hand them each one complete Stocktake's worth of Stocktake count sheet. You can also do a combination of both. You could have some people picking with using the wireless RF picking guns to do the Stocktake. You could have some people doing a count sheet, then entering the data in later. It's fine to mix and match them. They can be done. So with either of these options, it's possible to have a number of the Stocktakes running at the same time, and it may be easier to activate a lot of smaller Stocktakes and have different people doing small ones. That way, as they finish, someone can be entering it in while they're out doing the next one, rather than one large, all-encompassing Stocktake. Once all the quantities have been entered, so here we'll go through, we'll do one here, we'll do 900, 900, 900, 900. Once all the quantities have been entered, it's possible to print a stock variance list. Now, the stock variance list can only be printed at this point, once the count quantities are in, but before you have pressed the update stock on hand. Once you've completed a Stocktake, so once you press the update stock on hand, the count quantity screen stops being available. The stock variance list stops becoming available. So when we have a look at this, we can produce a report that shows every product, whether or not there's a variance on it, or only the products that have variances. We can also then see a sequence, determining how we want the sequence to show. So let's quickly generate this to screen and have a look what it looks like. As you'll see here, it shows you your product ID and your description, the location, your book count, your physical count, the variation, what your cost was at the time the count was done, or that the stocktake was updated, the variance value, giving you a total book value and a total variance value for the products. So obviously if you've got a much larger stocktake with 100 or so products, there may be a number of variances and non-variances in there, and it will show you all that information. As I said though, this stocktake variance list must be produced before you use the Update Stock on Hand button. Speaking of which, that's the final step, is using the Update Stock on Hand button. Once you select this button, you're then presented three options here. Products in this stocktake, products whose stock on hand value will be updated, and products that will be updated to a 0 value. Now remember, when it says a 0 value, that means it will do an adjustment between what the snapshot value was and what the count quantity is. So if it thinks the count quantity is 0, it will tell you, hey, I'm going to try and adjust this to 0. This is how many products I'll do that on. Once you're happy that those numbers are correct, you simply tick them and it allows you to continue. So we'll click continue, and what will happen once it's completed, the stocktake gets removed from the system. So now we're only left with the one left. We've added that in that little question sheet in there because it's a final safety net. It is possible in the Stocktake system, although highly recommended to never do this, it is possible to activate a stocktake for every single product you have, leave all the quantities as 0, hit Update Stock on Hand, and you will then zero out your entire product file. You'll have a very large entry in your Stocktake Variance GL account, but all of your stock levels will read as 0. You could then come and re-enter it if you needed to. The thing to be mindful of with stocktakes is once you've done an Update Stock on Hand quantity, there is no undo button. Once you update it, you answer the 3 questions and hit complete. The stocktake is completed. There is no reversal. You would have to manually reverse it all. So it's just something to be mindful of. Alright. So that's it. Once you've done that, that is a stocktake completed. We've activated a stocktake. We've come into stocktake maintenance. We've completed the stocktake. We've updated the stock on hand. Stocktake's done. Once you've finished doing stocktakes, there are a couple of other reports that you can use in conjunction with stocktakes in the ACR system. One of these is the not counted report. So this report allows you to see which active products have or have not been counted since a certain stocktake date. You have the ability to set what stock area you're looking at, the product location you want to look at, and the date that you want to look for any product that has not been stocktaked from that date to today. And this will produce a report. So if we have a look at it, we're going to use stock area 1. I'm not going to look at that. We're going to look for anything that hasn't been stocktaked, anything that hasn't been stocktaked since the 1st of January 2010. Generate report. We'll chuck it out to screen. Now, depending on how many products it will show on here, this will take a few seconds to a minute or so to tell you what products are actually on there going to show. So as you can see, count. And what this will show you is the product IDs and descriptions, a sort key, what product group they're in, what date they were last stock taked, and what their current count is. So if you were doing small stock takes by location, you could do your stock take, complete it. That last stock take date will be replaced with the date that you click the Update Stock on Hand button on, and then run this report. This will tell you if there were any products that were missed when the stock take was completed, or if you're looking at it and going, do I need to do a stock take on this area? You could run this report and have a look and see, you maybe go, has this area been stock taked in the last year? Run the report, see whether there are any products that show up with a last stock take date older than 1 year ago. So there's a number of ways you can use this report to get information, but it allows you to see what products haven't been stock taked since a certain date. Obviously anything with no date in it has never been stock taked. Alright, the last report I've got isn't necessarily strictly a stock take report, but has proved very useful in the past for people who are trying to look up information about stock takes that have been completed. So this report's held under the reports, stock value or stock movement value report. If you run it as a stock movement value report, it gives you the ability to have a look at stock movements created by stock take adjustments. Okay. So when a stock take needs to increase or decrease a stock on hand quantity, it creates a stock movement in the background. That's where it actually tells the system increase by X, decrease by Y. We call that a stock movement. So using this report, what you're actually doing is you're reporting on any product that did have a movement in a specific stock take. So if the product count was exactly the same as its book value, it's not going to show on this report because there was no movement. If the count was different to the original value, or the original stock on hand value, it will show in this report because there was a stock movement. So what you can do, transaction date, you tell it what date you want to look from to what date you want to look to. For the purposes we're doing, we want to look at the stock take adjustments only. If you know transaction numbers or product IDs, you can do that too. So you could have a look here and see, hey, was this product counted on more than one stock take, by running this report for a set period and seeing, hey, there were 3 different entries on here. So if we generate this report screen, we can have a quick look at it. So this is good for going back after the event and having a look at what's occurred and just trying to get your head around it. Say you want to have a look at it, you want to compare the variance list, or if somebody's saying, hey, have these products been stock taked, or when were they stock taked? This is the type of report you could use to have a look at that. So it's going through, just creating us our report. As with any report in ACR, the more information you have on it, the longer it is going to take. They're usually not too bad, but if you do qualify this with a lot of information and it starts printing or generating a couple of hundred pages, then it can take a while. So what this report will show you, now this report does show you a bit more information than you strictly need, but that's because it has got multiple uses. This report shows you the date that the transaction occurred or the movement occurred. STK says it was a stock take, the reference number of the stock take, what products were on the stock take. So if we have a look at this particular stock take, we can see that all those products were on it. The product IDs, the descriptions, what the original quantity was, what the new quantity or the count quantity was. The cost isn't relevant to the stock take side. It shows us our adjustment value to give us the transaction value for it. So this allows us to have a look and see, right, on this stock take here, only one product had a transaction that required a stock movement. On this stock take, we've got quite a number of products that were done that required a stock movement. This is what I mean by the it can be useful to have a look back after the event and see what's occurred. Or alternatively, as I said, you could just enter in a specific ID number and have a look. So we might run this again, and this time we'll use this product, and we'll have a look and see what stock takes that particular product was on. So if we have a look at the same date range, stock take only, from and to that product, let's generate the report and have a look this time. So this time we can see that that product in the same date range was on 2 different stock takes and had a total stock variance of this amount in that time period. So as I was saying, while it might not strictly be a stock take report, it can be very, very handy in looking at what's occurred with stock takes and sort of looking at the trail of what's happened. So the final thing that we'll look at is some configurations relating to stock takes. Now all of these configurations can be found in the misconfigurations menu option. What we're going to start with is the Stocktake security group. So under user group authorization, Stocktake user group. This is a secondary security area where you can set who can use the Stocktake menu items. So you can set menu security on it. You can also set Stocktake user group and say, right, only people in this particular group can use the Stocktake menu, regardless of if they can see it or not. So it's just an extra layer of security there that can be used. The next one is the print stock on hand on Stocktake list. So this will determine whether on our Stocktake list here, whether the stock on hand will show or not. If this menu item is unticked and we were to generate a Stocktake list, this whole column here would be blank. There'd just be nothing there. So that allows you to determine whether you want to show the people who are picking how many the system believes should be there or not. I've had some people who want the person to be shown, hey, there should be some here, because they may have to go find it in a bulk storage area to count it. Other people don't want the counters to see it because they figure, oh, if it says 0, they're not going to look for it, so they're just going to write 0. It's a choice for the site to make on how they want to actually see it. The last of the configurations is the calculate Stocktake using. You've got two choices here, stock on hand or free stock. So, depending which option you have here, depends on whether the count quantities you're using are going to be based off your stock on hand or your free stock. And what I mean by that is in ACR, if we have a look at your product maintenance, your stock on hand for a stock area may be different to your free stock. Your free stock is your stock on hand, less any unprinted invoices, less any unallocated back orders, shows you what you've got your free stock. If you have this config set to free stock, it will be taking the snapshot of what your free stock is when you activate the Stocktake. Your count will then look at a variance between your free stock and the counted quantity and make an adjustment to that, which then obviously flows down to your stock on hand. If you're basing it off stock on hand, it will look at your stock on hand, compare it to the count quantity and make the variance to the stock on hand. So that's the last of the configs in the miscellaneous configurations to calculate Stocktake using. So just some helpful hints on this as we wrap up. Stocktakes can be completed as either a whole store or a rolling stocktake. So you could do one large one that's for your entire business. You could do a number of small ones for your entire business to be all done at once. Or you can do a number of small ones to be done incrementally, whether it's once a week, once a fortnight, as you get to it. It's not uncommon for some locations to use Friday afternoon that may be a little bit slow. Once they finish, like once they hit the slow period on a Friday afternoon, they might pick one location, activate a stocktake for it, do a count, enter it in, and do that over the course of the year. So over the course of the 52 weeks, they do 52 small stocktakes, rather than having to shut the whole business down for a day to do a full business stocktake. Also remember, when you're updating the stock levels, a variance is done to correct the stock levels. It doesn't just replace one stock level with the count quantity. And lastly, if you are doing it, we recommend printing a stock variance list before you complete the stocktake. Because once you've completed your stocktake, you can only print the stock movement value report. You can't print a stock variance list again. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you found this informative and useful in the stocktakes. And if you would like any more information on how ACR Business Systems can help you, or if you'd like any information on the ACR system itself, please feel free to either contact one of the trainers here at ACR or your account manager, Matt Knight, who'd be more than happy to have a talk to you about anything you're looking for within ACR and make sure you get the answers you needed. Otherwise, again, thank you very much for attending, and I hope you have a lovely afternoon. Thank you.